do these amazing things in our lives because of these moments we know in unity, because of these moments of stillness, these moments of experiencing the presence of the divine that lives and moves and has being in us. So we'll do that together today by beginning to still our bodies, quiet our minds, and to just be. So I invite you, if it's comfortable, you can close your eyes. And as you do that, take a deep breath in. Hold it for just a short pause and then exhale fully and feel your body just relax deeply into your chair or wherever you're sitting. If you're watching on Facebook, you can do this with us and just be. We welcome you to do this meditation with us. The energy between us, even across this network of electronics, is palatable. We can feel each other across this electronic divide. So I invite you to join us with this. So again, take another deep breath in. Feel your body just sink in as you relax deeply as you exhale. And again, one more inhale. Exhale fully as you settle in deeper and deeper. As I usually say in these moments, to be fully present, we know we have a body, and yet we're choosing to be still. Be still in this moment. Be still. Continue to relax your body. Scan your body for any place where you may be holding stress or tension. And just breathe into that space and let it go. Just let it go. And breathe. Find your normal breathing routine and stay aware of that breath as you sit in this stillness. Now, as we still the body, we now can quiet the mind. We don't try to shut up the mind, stop it completely. It's made to think. So if thoughts come and go, let them drift by like hot air balloons across the sky. Just let them go. And breathe as you do. Focus on your breath and let the thoughts drift by. During this quiet time, if you find yourself attached to a thought, if you become aware of that, just return to your breath. That is the true practice of meditation. Just letting go and returning to the breath. And just find your normal breathing and just continue to breathe. Realize now in this moment as we sit here together and feel this energy together that the divine presence is ever with you. We've been talking about divine presence for several weeks. Divine presence. When we are present, we realize the presence. And as Melissa has shared today, there is no place where you leave off and God begins. There is no place where you leave off and God begins. This is the oneness that we speak of in unity. This is the oneness we speak of. Non-duality. Oneness. So here in quiet confidence and calm peace, make known your desires. Make them known just in your awareness, even if it's just a deeper conscious contact with the depth of your being. To just be and to celebrate this presence by being present in this now moment. hope every time that you pause in these mindful moments, in these meditations, that you can give yourself a gift. Feel like this is a gift. This is a gift to yourself, that you're realizing and acknowledging that there's no place where God leaves off, where you leave off and God begins. There's only one. So now, as we sit in the silence for just a couple moments, just to fully realize this presence, peace, be still and know I am. Peace, be still and know I am. Peace, be still and know I am. In the silence. In the silence. So take a deep breath and realize again that in this present moment, the divine presence is wherever with you. There is no place where you leave off and God begins. There is only one. Oneness. Breathe that in deep into your conscious awareness. And as you do, you can begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Move your body, roll your shoulders if that's comfortable. Feel this present moment come back to you after resting in the presence of your own being. And when you're ready, you can open your outer eyes and be fully in this moment. That's such a neat experience to do this collectively, to have meditation collectively. So it's such a neat thing for all of, for me, and it looks like it is for you too, because you guys go pretty good. A little technical issue. Chris, I don't have the little clicker, so you can either bring that to me or you can just advance the slides, either one you want to do. Either one you want to do. So we have to talk about clickers and USB. You have to take the dongle out and plug the USB dongle in. Isn't that something? We talk about all this technical stuff. Thank you. Oh, just a minute. Come here. This is unplanned. This is Chris. This is... Thank you, Chris. She doesn't get up here very much, so I couldn't pass up that opportunity. So, as Melissa gave us the introduction about why we're here this morning, wholehearted living, practicing wholehearted living. So, there's so much in this book that we've studied now for 2 months, a little over 2 months now. So much in this. Wholehearted living is about engaging our lives from a place of worthiness. We don't hear those messages. If you turn on the TV, cable news, or even out in some of our movies, you don't hear that. You don't hear that message, do you? Coming from life from a place of worthiness. So I had a thought this morning about that. I'm going to write an email to Brene Brown. Say, thank you, Sister Brown. Thank you for bringing this message to people of all faiths, not just us. It rings true to us, and that's why her message, her talks, rings true through a lot of Unity churches right now. Not just this book, but others. This was kind of her first book, and it happened. This book happened to her because of a spiritual awakening. She was doing this research into shame and guilt and being vulnerable. And she realized her life was a mess, and so she had a spiritual awakening. And that's why the book is so real, I think, to me. To me it is. It's so real. So I want to thank Sister Brown for doing this research and bringing it to us. It's spiritual because it's about wholeness and our whole self. It's about the presence. So she does it in a secular way. Well, she doesn't talk a lot about God or religion. You're definitely not a particular religion. She shares a little bit of hers. But as I've mentioned in several of these talks, it parallels our Unity teachings. It parallels the Unity teachings. She uses a different language, wholehearted living. We don't say that usually in Unity. But I've mentioned, we talk about other things like, the Christ presence. We talk about the 5 principles, and we've talked about that in several of these talks about how they parallel what she's discovered in her research. So I showed this particular slide. I went too far. This particular slide, which y'all can't see at all, but I've got copies. This is from her website. I want to remind you, this is from her website. It's got all of the guideposts on her website that you can get a copy of this. And I've got a few copies in the back. If you want a copy, you can have a copy of this. If you need another one, you can let me or Chris know, and we'll print you another copy. But the gist of her book on the gifts is cultivate authenticity, self-compassion, resilient spirit, joy and gratitude, intuition and trusting faith, creativity, play and rest, calm and stillness, meaningful work, laughter, song, and dance. We didn't talk about every one of those. I think we got 8 of them in. So you've got some other work to do if you want to read. You can go to the library and check this book out, or buy a copy, or let me know and I'll loan you a copy. So as Melissa said, she says in the final chapter in this book that she doesn't consider this a self-help book because of the research, because it's so research-based. And it really isn't self-help in the strictest sense of the way that genre is produced. It's a book about self-discovery. You could, maybe it's a play on words, but this BS meter that we all have about self-help, quick fixes, and unfortunately, send me a lot of money and you can get fixed. Overnight you'll get fixed on TV or the books. So we've turned our BS meter up pretty high because of that. But this is different. This is paralleling the unity teaching. This is paralleling our wholeness, oneness, and who we are on the depth of our being. It's not a quick fix. You're not going to get this overnight. It takes a lot of work. If I told you anything different, it wouldn't be the truth. It takes work. It takes work to look in yourself. But as long as we're here in this manifestation, I think that's what we have to do. Melissa also read, what is the greater risk? Letting go of what people think about you, about how you think or live, or letting go of what you feel, what you believe, and who you are, the truth. Which is the greater the risk? So what people have done, what she found out in the research that she did, is because of the shame and guilt that many of us, and what she found in the research, we don't live our authentic self. We're not living authentically. We put on a face because we're too afraid that if somebody sees who we truly are, they'll judge us. And it's little things. I was thinking about this. It doesn't even have to be the big things. The fact that I don't, pick up my shoes and put them in the right place, I beat myself up about that. Or, because my mama told me that if I didn't do that, she didn't say I was going to hell, but about that, but almost everything else. Yeah, so little things like that are why we do this work, to know that if we engage a wholehearted living, engaging from a place of worthiness. So she says this several times through the book. So no matter what gets done, and how much is left undone, say to yourself, and particularly she says, say this at night, I am enough. I am enough. Now there's something that's very positive. So thank you, Sister Brown, for that. Because a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that they are enough, just as they are. They don't have to beat themselves up about little things that come into their lives. I am enough. And yet, from our unity teachings, there's something more in there. I mean, when I say, and affirm with me now, say this with me in just a minute. I'm going to let you affirm this with me. Well, let's do it now. Say this with me. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. So true. And yet, underneath that, to me, there's more in there. We know there's more. It's an affirmation that we can live by. I am enough. We're 100% human, 100% divine. We're vulnerable. We're perfectly imperfect, as I call it. She says the gifts of imperfections because of our humanness. Well, we're also in unity. We know we're 100% divine. So we live from this place of being perfectly imperfect, vulnerable, sometimes afraid. When she uses afraid, she's talking about being vulnerable. We're all afraid to be vulnerable. Stand up in front of people and tell who we are, let people see who we are. But that doesn't change the truth that I also embrace. I also embrace love and a sense of love and belonging, even if I'm vulnerable or afraid. Let's do this again. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. So as we affirm this, we join the wholehearted revolution. I like what she calls this a revolution because, again, people don't hear this. It's a message we don't hear. We don't hear it from any of our most of our secular sources, if you will. Ernest Holmes put it this way. Ernest Holmes is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, a sister New Thought organization for unity. He says it this way: you are to believe with the utmost simplicity and with complete faith that there is a pattern of your being or a real spirit of you which is as eternal as God, as indestructible as reality, and as changeless truth. So make your authenticity your number one goal. Wherever you go into a situation where you're feeling vulnerable, keep it real. Keep it real. Wearing this shirt in Walmart is keeping it real for me. Can you see what it says? Unapologetically inclusive. Unapologetically inclusive. That's my truth. Melissa quoted this morning, I love this quote from Eric Butterworth. She quoted, "The whole of God is present at every point in space at the same time." God is present in you, as you, through you, at every time. Take time to meditate on this great idea. God does not come and go. And the first passage I read during meditation, the presence, God does not, there's no place where you stop and God begins. There's no place. God does not capriciously move substance of God's supply from one place to the other. It's always there, always there. We just have to turn our consciousness to it. God is always totally present, totally present, as presence, as a presence. So this is practicing the presence, right? I wrote about that in the MailChimp this week, practicing the presence. And acknowledging this divine presence that lives and moves and has being in each one of us, we say thank you. We say thank you for this realization. Practicing wholehearted living. Engaging in our lives from a place of worthiness. So do you remember what the gifts, what she called early on, 2 months ago, what the gifts of imperfection are? Not a test. I just asked a question to get you thinking about it. Compassion, courage, and connection. Compassion, courage, and connection. Not obvious that those are the gifts of imperfection, but if you think about it, we have to have courage and compassion and connection to live wholeheartedly, to live authentically. Sounds simple, right? But remember, the opposite of these gifts, so easy for us to fall into, is feeling fearful or judgmental and alone. So courage, compassion, and connection are these gifts that we seek and practice so we can live authentically, to be our true self. And that's what the 5 principles does. I mean, that's exactly. We know there's only one presence and one power active in the universe in my life. So again, Brene Brown does not call this self-help. She uses it as a way of saying, start each morning that your story matters. What you are, who you are, matters. We don't have to every day say, now everything is okay. Or in the 12-step world, what we used to say all the time is fine. How are you doing? Everybody says fine. I didn't want to put that up there on a slide for that, because you know what fine is an acronym for it? Anybody remember what that is? The 12-steppers will know what that is. It says, and there's variations of it, freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. That's what find is. So in your mind, you can probably think of some other words for that. Yes. Freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So when somebody says they're fine, I know I'm not asking you to judge it, and yet it's the same thing as when you say okay, I'm okay. Is that the truth? Live your authentic self. So wholehearted living is a rise from the gut, from your gut, to find the courage to celebrate intensely joyful moments, even though we've convinced ourselves that savoring happiness is inviting disaster. You remember one of the the chapters we cultivate authentic living doesn't mean that we have to worry that all the time that if we think things are good, that means something bad is going to happen to us. We don't have to savor that or live that way. It is a revolution. A little dramatic to call this a revolution, but look at the world around us. Look at it. Look at the world around us. Choosing authenticity and worthiness is an absolute act of resistance. And we do that through the unity principles as well. Choosing to live and love wholeheartedly is an act of defiance. It's an act of defiance. So did you hear this week, just the other day, Thursday or Friday, talking about defiances? This is a little off the subject, but it came to me, so I'm going to share it with you. Representative Angie Craig of Minnesota, during the roll call votes for this past week for Speaker of the House, she acknowledged her wife with a shout out for happy anniversary before voting for the Speaker. So she acknowledged, because of the undertone of what was going on and what was being said, and of not inclusive language, she said happy anniversary to her wife, and it was a moving thing to me to have the courage and, again, an act of defiance to step in the Senate, in the floor of the Congress, to say that in lieu of what had been said previously. So in wholehearted living, it's not always comfortable, because we're doing this work. We're doing the work. We have to do this work, I think. We have to do things to make it like you're becoming a new person. So there was a young California man, a boy, a high schooler. He said, you have to do things that make you like, again, they use the word like every other word. So even if it's talking to a new person, it might make you uncomfortable, but you have to, or else you're not going to make friends. You're not going to be able to have experiences. Now, he said this, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. The American Exchange Program is a program that has been started by David McCullough III. He's the grandson of the Pulitzer Prize winning author David McCullough. He's taken his money, his inheritance from his grandfather, and using it to change the world by paying for these kids, high schoolers. He paid for 300 of them this year, and he hopes to get to a million in some period of time. It costs them nothing. But what he does is these kids, so there's an example where these kids from Berkeley went to Dodge City, Kansas. So he took these high schoolers from Berkeley, liberal, very open about things, went to Dodge City, Kansas, and the first thing they saw, the kids were driving into Dodge City, Kansas, were these cattle yards, huge catalogs and cattle yards, and several of these kids were vegetarian. So it's seeing from a different place where other people in the country are living from their concept. And then these kids from Dodge City, then after a week, then they went to California with the friends, and they saw how the other this group lived. The idea is to take these kids, they're high school, so they're not really kids anymore, take them and have a different experience than where they're growing up. So if your hope has diminished a little bit, to me, an act of defiance, changing the world by the way they see the world, is going to change our world for all of us. We've kind of messed it up. Our generation, with some of the issues going on, but these kids are going to change it. So they go into a town that's politically, socioeconomically, cultural, very different from the one growing up, and it's changing them, and thus it'll change our world. So this practice of wholehearted living is not really new for us, because Brené Brown conveys universal truth that we know as truth and unity. So I think Brene Brown's research for wholehearted living, as I've said, speaks unity principles. Here's one that I'll read to you that comes from a unity author. Anyone can learn, practice, and master the process of shifting awareness away from a situation or condition to the more profound spiritual truth that is constantly operating and always available for us to claim. That's what we know, and that's what we study. That all of these, we can shift our consciousness, shift our awareness away from the condition. That's what we do in affirmative prayer. We don't look at the condition or the situation. We affirm the truth about who we are as spiritual beings. So, and as we wrestle with our innate worthiness, and we do, to embody these more than just enough, I am enough, we embody I am Christ, I am God, I am Buddha consciousness, I am Christ consciousness. Whatever you want to do, whatever you choose to say from your heart. Where Charles Fillmore, a co-founder of Unity, wrote on a note, he wrote some handwritings on a note, and it said that as an offspring of one universal spirit, or God, you can rightfully declare, I am Christ. And we know that's not Jesus' last name. I am Christ. I am the Christ consciousness, the same consciousness that was in Jesus. You begin your demonstration wherever you are. You can take small bites at it. You can say, I am life, and you will get life. You can say, I am love, and you will get love. You can say, I need a bigger manifestation of love than you've ever had before, and that's what will come to you. You can say, I am strength, I am power, and whatever you need is there before you. And that comes from Linda Martellowitz and Deanne Mercy's latest book, and I think I heard Melissa talking about, Melissa and I, about who's going to do that. We're going to introduce you to her new book. It's fantastic, and that came from that, Discover Your Divinity. It's a fantastic book, fantastic teachings. There's several new Unity books that we'll be introducing in the coming year. Emily Cady said this in Lessons in Truth: I am God, or manifestation of God, and every moment, God's life, love, wisdom, and power flow into and through me. I am one with God and governed by divine law. Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth has 4 basic definitions of who we are, statement of beings. This is the number 2. So let's reduce this to something that we can affirm in the morning and repeatable. Something like, I am enough, but let's do this. Again, I think it's not complete, because we know who we are. So let me say this once, then I want you to say it with me. I am whole, complete, and wonderfully divine. Let's say that together. I am whole, complete, and wonderfully divine. I am enough. I am enough. I am whole, complete, and wonderfully divine. These affirmations are so important to say to yourself throughout your day. And I know from my own experience with my own family and others, you're going to confuse people. This language that we say, you're going to piss people off, and even terrify people. You're going to think you're crazy. Maybe even yourself sometimes. But the transformation on this journey never ends. Yet we are, as Brene Brown closes in her book, we always can feel brave and afraid at the same time. And when she says afraid, that means vulnerable. We're not afraid because we know who we are. But practicing wholehearted living, be brave, be vulnerable, and very, very alive. I'm going to say